Welcome to video 4 of chapter 1. We have been talking about the belief system. Different belief systems intertwine with each other through the story each one of us crafts and follows. Now, we've been talking about language also. We are going to explore the use of language, the style, and the choice of words we make to express what we mean in what we say. In fact, the words we use are not accidental. They come from a way of thinking. They are chosen for a purpose. Let's start from the language style. There are many language styles. I would like to collect them all into big macro categories. One of the two is aggressive or proactive. The other one is passive or submissive. Some people tend to lead the conversation while others tend to follow the conversation. Let us explore the group that lead the conversation. Whether they do it forcefully or gently, they are after something. They have a direction and they go in that direction, leading the conversation and inviting others to follow them. On the other side, there are those who follow the conversation. They react to stimulation. Often they don't have a direction or a clear purpose for being in the conversation. They react to whatever comes their way. One person once gave me an example. It's in a specific context, but these two macro areas are representative of what we're talking about. In shopping, there are shoppers and hunters. Shoppers go around, they look around, they don't know what they want specifically. They let the environment stimulate them. They might buy something that captures their attention in that moment, even if they don't need it. On the other side, the hunters, which basically know exactly what they want when they go to shopping. They go straight where they have to go. They pick up the thing that they want. And if that thing is not there, they know exactly how far they can go, how much they're willing to compromise to get something else. But if they don't find what they want, they go back home. Now, the shopper goes back home with something every time because they let the environment stimulates them. But the hunters measures exactly if they've got what they want. If they must search some more, they know exactly how effective they have been. In communication, it works the same. There are people who enter in the conversation not knowing what they want and not knowing why they're in that conversation, while leaders usually know what they want and they enter in the conversation clearly with an intention to go in a specific direction and invite others to join them. Something to notice is that there are many more shoppers than hunters, people who prefer to follow rather than lead. That says a lot about the trend of the majority. They usually look for philosophies, religions, or ideals to tell them how to live their life. They need to be accepted and approved and feel that they're doing the right thing. Well, in business, you need to have a clear objective. You want to lead the conversation such that you can influence its direction and achieve your desired outcome. But just because you want to lead, this doesn't mean that others will follow you. Let's look at the forceful leader, how they approach leadership and what do they do. First of all, forceful leadership is based on the mindset that I have to make people do what I say. And when you come from the perspective of making people do something, you have to push them into what they have to do. So you might use a threatening language or an assertive one, the enforcement of a discipline to follow. In these cases, followers do follow these type of leaders, but they follow the leader as long as the leader is present in person. When the leader is not there, people tend to lose effectiveness and motivation. They feel like if the leader is not there, there's no reason to follow the rules. Then when the leader catches them, the reproach gets a response in the moment. But On one side, leaders confirm their belief that they have to enforce the rules and be always present. On the other side, followers increase their resistance to their leader. As this type of relationship grows, stress goes over the threshold. A Gallup research shows that 75% of people who leave their job do it because they have problems in following the leaders. The language I ask my clients to use, it's kind and bold at the same time. It is like a passepartout for any kind of interaction. Because when you are kind, you are not a threatening presence, and when you are bold, you know exactly what you want, and you stay on path without wavering left or right. Kindness allows you not to generate resistances, and boldness allows you to move ahead in the direction of your destination. Also, being kind is a form of respect towards the other, and that respect goes a long ways because when you respect people, people tend to respect you back. Well, not always. There is always someone that will try not to respect you. But if you are the first one to bestow respect, then respect comes back to you most often. Mainly when you are the leader and others are the followers. Being kind has a great impact on the team. That is true also when you talk with partners, providers, or clients. Kind language, supported by a real kind attitude, is one of the most effective ways to establish business and social relationships. Any kind of relationship, because that speaks volumes about your respect towards the other as you go where you want to go and influence others to come with you. In this case, people tend to be faithful, grateful, and glad to work with somebody who makes them visible and appreciates their contribution. And that pays back because they will give their best even when the leader is not around in person. They're there because they have embraced your vision. They don't feel like a number, they feel like they are visible. They perceive to be valuable for the company, and that generates their satisfaction about themselves. I remember a few years ago, I was working for a great man in USA, and he created some kind of environment in which people were awarded for great ideas, not just economically, they were visible for their ideas. Also, when their ideas were good, they were rewarded economically. That created an environment where everybody were eager to find solutions and eager to participate because they knew their contribution was valued. To make someone visible is one of the most powerful points of connection in relationships because it feeds the satisfaction about themselves. Sometimes we're so focused on what we're doing and we don't realize that other people around us are spending themselves also to participate in our endeavor. So be kind and bold, be clear about where you're going, and pick up all the opportunities to make your team members visible in the process, such that they can get a space and contribute actively to your vision. To understand and use language intentionally is fundamental for this journey, and to recognize the mindset through people's language is a precious asset in any negotiation. Let me give you a couple of relevant examples in the context of discovering the mindset through language. Let's say somebody says, I have to go to work. I don't have a choice. I have to do it. We always have a choice. So when a person says, I don't have a choice, they are saying, I prefer to do what I'm going to do. Because if they would stop and think about it, they could stay in bed in the morning, not waking up, not preparing to go to work. It is true also that if they make that choice, they probably in time won't have a bed or a house or the money. Yet there is a choice that they could make, but they rather make another choice, and they call that choice something they have to do. What they choose to do is actually the best choice they see possible for themselves. But viewing it as I have to do it makes them feel like they're forced into something that they don't want to do. Think about it. That creates a state of anxiety and unsatisfaction and the difficulty to go through the day. This way of talking reveals the victim mindset, and it's pretty particular to the victim stance. Life happens to them rather than crafting their own life. And this way of living creates a stressful state. I like to talk about preference because they prefer to do what they don't like rather than live in the street, which is not for everybody. In fact, I know people who live on the street and they rather live on the street because they don't want deadlines or concerns or possessions. They live there because they prefer to be free, as they say. But not everybody is that way also on the street. There are many in the street that say that life brought them there without any responsibility from their side. So I believe we all follow our preference. Some of us clothe it with victimhood, and some of us take responsibility of the choices we make. And obviously, my suggestion for you is to take responsibility of your choice. We are all doing what we prefer. Even if somebody thinks that they are doing something that they just have to do, this way of thinking, as I say, makes you feel like you don't have a choice. The difference is quite profound. Someone says, I have to do this, or I cannot do that. Somebody else says, this is what I choose to do. The difference is in the substance, and the substance says that one of the two feels that he is a slave with no choice. The other has the option to do something different, but he decides to do what he is doing because the alternative would cost him too much. Another example of mindset revealed through language is when people are facing something difficult and they say, I'm not going to make it. That is not just a phrase, that is an expression of a mindset that will highlight everything that will confirm the impossibility of the endeavor and that it's better not to do it. The approach of I am not going to be able to do this is an approach that will not allow you to see the possibility because it will make you stop before even trying. And you may understand how that could be limiting in any situation in which you have to grow and experiment to find out the possibility. On the contrary, there are a lot of examples of people who decided to do something and declared it before anybody will ever think that it could be possible. They said it and they did it. This is not to say that positive thinking or positive talking is going to magically give you what you want. But if you're searching for possibilities, you will find what you search for because we always find what we search for. This is true when it comes to limiting belief and is also true when it comes to going beyond your self imposed limitations. It is in the mindset and it comes out through language. One thing is to realize what kind of mindset you have, and another thing is to set in motion a different mindset. The way to start to shift your own mindset starts from the ability to change language around the same things you've been talking about, reframing your mindset through your language. How do you do that? The first step is to become aware of the language you are using right now. Are you in the leading part of the conversation or are you on the following part of the conversation? But mainly, how do you prefer to position yourself in the conversation? The answer to these questions will allow you to craft a language to use in the conversations from now on. Another mindset which reveals itself through language is minimization. Sometimes when people approach someone who is going through a difficulty, they say things like, oh, don't worry, everything is going to be all right. It will pass. Soon you're going to be just fine. This language is the expression of the mindset that doesn't want to face reality and tries to create a fantasy to sugarcoat a difficult situation. This type of mindset avoids facing difficulties in the attempt to make their life more tolerable. What they are doing is turning away from what would help them to make their life more relevant. The type of difficulty that allows you to grow and become wiser. But their preference is a different one. Some people tend to postpone what they have to do until it's too late. There are many more, but I just wanted to give you some examples on how you can listen to the language of somebody else and understand their mindset. You can do it with yourself, observing your own language, but you can also do it with other people, people you meet for the first time also. It is quite useful to understand people's mindset when they talk with you, such that you can understand how to position yourself in the conversation if you know what they're concerned about and what they desire. To observe and understand is the first step. Then you choose what works best for yourself and you can calibrate where people come from when they come to talk to you. Now, let me give you the last tip about another destructive mindset. My suggestion is to avoid being judgmental. Judgmental language is assertive, communicates certainty as if one knows what is going to happen or how people are and why they do what they do. This type of language is presumptuous. It assumes a lot about situations and people's motives. One of the most common phrases in this language is, I know why they do it. I know them better than they know themselves. While on one side, it is presumptuous. On the other, it is focused on searching and finding proofs to confirm the assumptions. They are suspicious, and anything the person does is twisted and taken as a confirmation of their suspect. Instead of trying to predict the outcome of situations, pay attention to how the situation evolves, asking questions instead of making assertion. Let's get to the task of this video. I want you to consider your own language. Think about, what do you say in front of a difficult situation, or in a conflict, or when you're confused, or when you don't know what to do. My request is for you to think about your mindset and how it gets revealed through your language. And also, I'd like for you to think about what could be a different way, what could be a different language that you could choose around the same things. Let's say if you are using now a judgmental language, you may start to use TAPs like this is what I think, or in my opinion, making the statement more yours than the objective truth for everybody. If you normally say, I'm not going to make it, then start to say, I have not made it yet. I still haven't found a way. And if you usually minimize, next time somebody brings a very delicate situation to you, just be there with them and ask questions like, tell me more and let me understand, how was it for you? Allowing the other person to connect with you in what might feel painful. But remember, to share someone's pain is a very intimate practice and creates very robust relationship. I want you to reflect on these things and then write them in the logbox for me and send them over so that I will be able to write my comments and my coaching for you. See you in the next video, which would be the last video of the first chapter.